What makes a movie impossible to ignore? Is it quality or is it pure nerve? These are the films that refuse to sit quietly in the background. They grab your attention, trip over themselves, and somehow keep going anyway. Halfway through, you stop judging and start watching closer. Because something strange is happening. These movies should fail. They do not. And once you notice why, you cannot unsee it. Number 15. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, 1978. It begins as a joke and somehow keeps a straight face long enough to become unforgettable. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes does not pretend to be serious. That is its greatest strength. From the opening moments, it announces its intentions clearly. This is nonsense. Loud, confident nonsense. The idea alone sounds like a parody sketch stretched too far, yet the film commits fully. Characters react as if the threat makes sense. News broadcasts panic. Government responses spiral. The movie treats absurdity like routine. What makes it impossible to ignore is timing. This arrives during an era when disaster films were everywhere. Instead of copying them directly, it twists the formula just enough to expose how silly those structures already were. The music is cheerful. The pacing is strange. The humor lands sideways instead of straight on. And that is why it works. The production is clearly low on resources but high on confidence. Cheap sets become part of the charm. Jokes repeat until they feel intentional, and the film never apologizes for itself. It does not ask permission to be this strange. Years later, people still reference it, not because it is polished, but because it is fearless. It proves that when a movie believes in its own madness, the audience eventually follows. That confidence is impossible to ignore. Number 14. Hard Ticket to Hawaii, 1987. This movie operates like a dare that nobody backed out of. Hard Ticket to Hawaii feels like several ideas stacked on top of each other without checking balance. A tropical setting, secret operations, explosions of tone. The movie jumps between seriousness and silliness without warning, and somehow never stops moving. It is loud, colorful, and completely unaware of how strange it feels. What keeps you watching is the commitment. Scenes unfold as if the filmmakers genuinely believed this was the coolest thing ever captured on film. Dialogue is delivered with total confidence. Action moments arrive suddenly and often make you laugh simply because of how unexpected they are. Nothing is subtle. Nothing waits its turn. The setting helps. Bright locations give the film a postcard look that clashes beautifully with the chaos happening inside the story. It creates a tone that feels unreal, like a dream built from action movie leftovers and vacation memories. This film does not succeed because it is smooth. It succeeds because it is bold. Every choice feels final. No hesitation, no second guessing. You might question the decisions, but you will not look away. That energy carries the entire runtime. Number 13. Basket Case, 1982. This movie feels like it crawled out of a city alley and dared you to follow it. Basket Case is small, rough, and deeply uncomfortable in a way that feels intentional. The story centers on a strange relationship that unfolds slowly, without explanation, and without concern for comfort. The city feels alive but hostile. Hallways feel narrow. Rooms feel cramped. Everything feels slightly off. What makes it impossible to ignore is atmosphere. The film leans into grime and tension. The low budget does not hide. It becomes part of the mood. Every sound echoes. Every silence lingers too long. You feel like you are watching something you were not meant to see. The performances are direct and serious. No one winks at the camera. No one explains the situation. The movie trusts the audience to keep up, even when things turn strange. That trust makes the experience stronger. This film became a cult favorite because it understands restraint. It does not rush. It lets discomfort build naturally. The result is a movie that sticks in your memory long after it ends. Basket Case does not need scale to make an impact. It uses focus, mood, and patience. That is why it still gets talked about. Number 12. Sleepover Camp, 1983. This movie waits quietly before revealing why people still argue about it decades later. At first glance, Sleepover Camp feels familiar. Summer setting, young cast, light tone. It appears harmless, almost cozy. That is exactly how it pulls you in. The movie takes its time, letting routines settle, letting personalities form, letting the audience relax. Then things shift. The pacing grows uneasy. Small moments feel heavier than expected. Reactions linger a second too long. The film slowly abandons comfort and replaces it with tension. By the final stretch, the tone has completely transformed. What makes this impossible to ignore is restraint. The movie does not rush its surprises. It lets silence do the work. When the final reveal arrives, it feels abrupt, not because it is random, but because the film waited so long to speak. That ending changed how the entire movie was remembered. It sparked conversations. It created confusion. It made people re-watch earlier scenes with new eyes. Sleepover Camp survives because it understands timing. Number 11. Chopping Mall, 1986. This movie turns a simple location into a playground of pure chaos. Chopping Mall takes place almost entirely inside a shopping center after closing hours. That choice does most of the work. The empty space feels eerie, but also playful. Wide hallways, bright lights, familiar stores stripped of purpose. It is the perfect stage for mayhem. The story moves quickly and does not waste time explaining itself. Technology meant to protect becomes unpredictable. Characters react with confusion, humor, and panic. The movie leans into momentum. One event triggers another. There is no pause. What makes it impossible to ignore is efficiency. The film knows exactly what it is. It does not pretend to be deep. It delivers energy, movement, and surprises in clean bursts. The effects are practical. The pacing stays sharp. The tone stays light enough to keep things fun. Chopping Mall became a favorite because it understands entertainment rhythm. Every scene pushes forward. Every moment serves the ride. It proves that a tight idea executed with confidence can outshine a bigger budget, and that confidence is magnetic. Number 10. Night of the Creeps, 1986. This movie feels like someone dumped every favorite idea into one story and refused to remove anything. Night of the Creeps blends tones that should not work together, yet somehow do. Science fiction, campus comedy, old-school horror energy. The movie jumps between them without apology, trusting momentum to carry the weight. And it does. The story begins with a mystery that feels playful, then slowly grows more intense. The pacing is sharp. Scenes rarely linger. Dialogue lands with confidence, even when it leans strange. Characters react like real people dropped into unreal situations, which grounds the chaos just enough. What makes this movie impossible to ignore is joy. You can feel how much the filmmakers love the genres they are playing with. References are sprinkled throughout, not as jokes, but as respect. The movie never mocks what it borrows, it celebrates it. The performances help sell the tone. The authority figure delivers lines with dramatic seriousness, while younger characters balance humor and fear. That contrast keeps the movie from tipping too far in either direction. Number 9. Street Trash, 1987. This movie feels like a dare taken too far and never walked back. Street trash is not subtle. It is loud, grimy, and completely uninterested in comfort. From the first moments, it establishes a harsh environment where everything feels unstable. The setting is rough. The characters feel worn down. The tone is confrontational. What makes this impossible to ignore is how far it pushes its style. The visuals are bold and unsettling. Colors feel unnatural. Scenes unfold with an edge that makes you lean back, then lean forward again. It is not pleasant, but it is memorable. The movie taps into a very specific time in independent filmmaking where shock value was currency. Instead of smoothing rough edges, it sharpens them. The effects are exaggerated. The reactions are extreme. Everything feels heightened. Yet, beneath the mess, there is intention. The film is commenting on decay, neglect, and how easily people are forgotten. It just chooses the most aggressive way possible to say it. Street trash is not for everyone. It was never meant to be. It exists to leave a mark, and it succeeds. Once you have seen it, you do not forget it. That impact is the reason it endures. Number 8. Dead Alive, 1992. This movie begins small and escalates until it feels completely unrestrained. Dead Alive starts like a quiet comedy with odd characters and gentle pacing. The tone feels almost polite. That is intentional, because what follows is an escalation that never slows down. Each scene builds on the last, pushing further, faster, and louder. What makes this impossible to ignore is control. Despite the chaos, every moment is carefully staged. The camera moves with purpose. The timing is precise. Nothing feels accidental. The movie knows exactly how far it is going and commits fully. The performances lean into exaggeration without breaking believability. Characters react sincerely, even as the situation grows absurd. That sincerity anchors the spectacle. This film became legendary because it proved that excess can still be structured. It is not random noise. It is orchestration. Each moment tops the last until the only option left is to laugh in disbelief. Dead Alive stands as a turning point for its creator and a benchmark for practical creativity. It shows what happens when imagination is allowed to run without fear. That confidence makes it unforgettable. Number 7. Samurai Cop, 1991. This movie feels like confidence without coordination. Samurai Cop charges forward with the energy of a serious crime drama, even when nothing around it supports that ambition. The story takes itself completely seriously. The performances never wink, and that contrast creates unintentional comedy that never stops. What makes this movie impossible to ignore is sincerity. Every line is delivered as if it matters deeply. Every dramatic pause lingers just a second too long. Scenes connect loosely, but the movie never doubts itself. Production inconsistencies add to the experience. Visual continuity shifts, styles change, but instead of breaking immersion, it creates a rhythm all its own. The movie becomes unpredictable in the best way. The lead performance anchors the chaos, calm, confident, completely unbothered by the surrounding disorder. That contrast carries the film from start to finish. Samurai Cop survives because it does not apologize. It moves forward boldly, trusting that seriousness alone will carry it through. And oddly enough, it does. It proves that belief can sometimes outweigh precision. Number 6. Miami Connection, 1987. This movie operates on pure sincerity and never once looks back. Miami Connection tells a story about friendship, loyalty, and music with absolute conviction. The dialogue is simple. The emotions are direct. There is no irony. That honesty is its secret power. What makes it impossible to ignore is heart. Every scene is fueled by genuine belief in the message. The characters support each other without hesitation. Conflicts are clear. Emotions are expressed openly. It feels earnest in a way few movies dare to be. The action moments are straightforward and often surprising. Music sequences appear suddenly and are treated with total seriousness. The film does not question whether these elements belong together. It assumes they do. That confidence carries the entire experience. Viewers stop judging technical flaws and start responding emotionally. The movie becomes endearing, then uplifting. Miami Connection became a cult classic because it wears its soul on its sleeve. Number 5. Plan 9 from Outer Space, 1959. This is the movie that taught the world failure could be fascinating. Plan 9. From Outer Space does not stumble quietly. It collapses loudly, repeatedly, and with complete sincerity. Every scene feels like it is held together by hope alone. Sets wobble, dialogue drifts, logic takes frequent breaks. And yet the movie never loses confidence. What makes it impossible to ignore is ambition. This film reaches far beyond its limitations. It wants to discuss fear, control, and humanity's future, even when it barely manages continuity. That gap between intention and execution becomes the experience. The performances are delivered with unwavering seriousness. No one acknowledges the absurdity. Characters speak as if everything makes perfect sense, and that commitment creates accidental magic. The film becomes a lesson in belief overpowering ability. Decades later, people still watch this movie not to laugh at it, but to marvel at it. It represents a moment where passion alone carried a project across the finish line. Plan 9 endures because it proves something rare. A movie does not need polish to be remembered. Sometimes all it needs is nerve. Number 4. Birdemic Shock and Terror, 2010. This movie feels like a glitch that somehow became a feature-length film. Birdemic moves at a rhythm no other movie follows. Scenes stretch. Silence lingers. Conversations feel disconnected. And then suddenly, everything shifts. The tone changes without warning, and the movie becomes something else entirely. What makes it impossible to ignore is its unfiltered nature. Nothing feels adjusted for comfort or pacing. You are watching exactly what the filmmaker intended, for better or worse. That honesty becomes hypnotic. The environmental message is delivered with total seriousness, even as the presentation becomes surreal. Visual effects appear abruptly and repeat often, creating moments that feel unreal yet unforgettable. Characters react earnestly. There is no irony, no acknowledgement of how strange things look. That sincerity transforms confusion into fascination. Birdemic became a phenomenon because it refuses to behave like a normal film. It breaks rhythm, it ignores structure, and in doing so, it creates moments people cannot stop talking about. Once you experience it, you understand why it lingers. Number 3. Sleeping Party Massacre 2, 1987. This movie abandons expectations and replaces them with chaos. The first film followed a clear path. This sequel does not. Instead, it veers sharply into dream logic, musical moments, and surreal imagery. It feels like several ideas colliding at once. What makes it impossible to ignore is unpredictability. You never know what kind of scene comes next. Reality bends, tone shifts, rules change, and the movie never explains itself. The villain becomes theatrical, almost playful, turning fear into spectacle. Music blends with tension in ways that feel wrong yet compelling. The movie leans into confusion rather than fighting it. This sequel gained attention because it refused to repeat the original. It chose risk instead of safety. That choice divided viewers but guaranteed longevity. People return to it not for clarity but for experience. It feels like watching someone follow instinct without restraint. That freedom makes it unforgettable. Number 2. Troll 2, 1990. This movie feels like it was translated from a different reality. Troll 2 has no connection to its title and very little connection to logic. Scenes unfold with emotional intensity that does not match the situation. Dialogue is delivered with complete seriousness even when it makes no sense. What makes it impossible to ignore is consistency. The movie is strange from start to finish and never breaks character. Every performance operates on the same heightened level. That unity creates a tone unlike anything else. The story unfolds like a dream where rules are suggested but never enforced. Reactions are extreme. Stakes feel unclear, and yet you keep watching. This movie became legendary because it invites participation. Viewers quote it, reenact scenes, and share it together. It transformed confusion into community. Troll 2 proves that coherence is not the only path to impact. Sometimes, shared disbelief becomes connection. Number 1. The Room, 2003. This movie changed how audiences understand failure forever. The Room is not just a movie, it is an event. Every scene feels emotionally intense in ways that defy logic. Conversations repeat, conflicts appear and vanish, tone resets without warning. What makes it impossible to ignore is sincerity. Every moment is delivered with full belief. There is no humor intended, yet humor emerges constantly. That contrast fuels its power. The production feels isolated from standard filmmaking rules. Choices are made with confidence and never questioned. The result is a film that feels personal, unfiltered, and unforgettable. Audiences did not just watch The Room, they embraced it. Screenings became gatherings, quotes became shared language. The movie became larger than itself. The Room endures because it proves something important. A movie does not need perfection to matter. It needs presence. And this one refuses to leave. These movies remind us that being unforgettable does not always mean being flawless. Sometimes it means being bold enough to exist exactly as you are. Strange choices, big swings, total belief. If one of these caught you off guard, say which one in the comments. Share this with someone who loves the unexpected. And remember, the movies that stay with us are not always the ones that play it safe.